Hello and welcome back to the channel Darkness to Christ. Today I'm going to do a quick video on a Bible verse that I've studied and has really changed my view on the world, on Christianity, on everything going forward. And I think most people are actually deceived. Now this verse is Jesus talking about the end times, and he's saying you'll see these signs, etc. And the verse that I'm going to explain to you is this one. It's Matthew 24:32 to 35. And it says, "Now learn this lesson from the fig tree. As soon as its twigs get tender and its leaves come out, you know that summer is near." I.e., when you see these signs, you know summer's here. So when you see these signs, you know Christ will return. "Even so, when you see all these things, you know that it is near, right at the door. Truly, I tell you, this generation will certainly not pass away until all these things have happened. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away." Now, the key thing here that I studied one, I was like, that's very interesting from what I've heard people saying, is the part where it says, "Truly, I tell you, this generation will certainly not pass away until all these things have happened." Now, this clearly is Jesus saying, when he says this generation, he's talking to his disciples, saying that these things will happen in your lifetime. And when I first heard the gentleman speaking about it, I was like, that is a very good point, and it's biblical, it's written in the Bible. Now, I listened to the gentleman expand on his point. It's basically called preterism. Now, I don't have to believe everything they say, but I'm always open and seeking truth. And what he says makes sense, and it is in the Bible. It's not twisting scripture. Jesus said, "I say this generation will not pass." And I've realized it actually turned out to be a lot of, not controversy, but debate on it, because a lot of the Jews say, well, Jesus said that he was going to return in the generation and he didn't, therefore he was a false prophet. That's why they'd claim that he's not the Messiah. However, there's many people who say that Jesus did return in 70 AD, and that was when he was talking about the destruction of the temple. Now, I find it very, very interesting. I'm going to put a link, rather than me try to explain it, I'm going to put a link in the description of the video I saw where this gentleman, he's an expert on it, and he explains it all in very good detail, and it makes a lot of sense. So I'll put that in the description. But what it's made me believe is that if this was correct, all the stuff where everybody now, that I personally thought as well, is we are living in the end times. We're waiting for Jesus to come back. If Jesus has already returned and these prophecies have been fulfilled, then we're all living a lie. All these people waiting for a rapture, which never made sense to me, to be honest, in the first place. I believe that Jesus could return maybe like in the flesh somewhere and change things, but it actually makes sense that all these things have been fulfilled. And what this gentleman was saying is that we're just now living in the Christian age, and Christ is ruling from his kingdom in the spirit. And we who are born again in the spirit are the ones bringing his kingdom to earth. And the goal is to get as many people in the kingdom, and the more people we get into the kingdom, that's when we bring heaven to earth. When Jesus says in the Lord's, or his prayer, the Lord's Prayer, says, "It will be done on earth as it is in heaven." And that's through us. Now, I think it's worth something worth looking into, because it really does change the world. And I know a lot of people, what I started thinking as well was, well, if we're not in the last days, why is the world so crazy? And I think it's just, if you look back through history, there's always been wars, there's always been pestilence, there's always been cycles of the world going crazy. And it's not so much we're in the end times, it's just that it's the nature of human existence. It's the meme, good times create weak men create tough times create strong men. So spiritually, spiritually connected men create good times allow Satan to get in, or good times create weak men. And that's when Satan corrupts the weak men and creates hard times. And then in the hard times, we seek God. And then when we seek God, we get good times. So we go in a similar circle spiritually. So that does make sense to me as well. So yeah, the point of this video is to look into it. I mean, it's very, very interesting. And I do think there's a lot of biblical backing behind it. And it makes sense. And what doesn't make sense is a lot of these people who go by the general view of Christianity is, rapture, Satan. There's many questions we can ask, such as, if Satan exists in his role, as we say, why didn't God just remove him? And then in theology, they're saying, well, Christ's going to come back, but then after 1,000 years, they're going to let Satan out. to deceive the world, and then Christ's going to come back again and destroy Satan. It's like, it seems like endless cycle and doesn't make much sense. As I say, why not just destroy Satan straight away? But I am questioning their theology. I'm not questioning God the Father, because I understand his wisdom. And I think that he's created existence, and Satan may be even a servant of God, because you need, in this physical world, we need opposites. So you have Christ, you have the Antichrist, you have good, you have evil, you have up, you have down, you have hot, you have cold. So it is a very interesting subject that I think you should look into. As I said, that's pretty much all I have to say for this video. If you like it, subscribe for more, and I'm going to start a Rumble account as well. So I'll put a link of that in the description. If it's not this video, it'll be the next video, because the previous video I did got banned. So if I do any slightly controversial stuff that I think may get banned, I'll just post it onto Rumble. Okay, thank you everyone, and God bless.